Hello my friends, my name is Artur and I am an Estonian YouTuber. We have talked a lot about American Civil War on this channel and why it is so deadly. American Civil War was a war first to use trench warfare, new kinds of weapons and bullets, ammunitions, mortars. But all these new techniques and the tactics were actually kinda outdated from the Napoleon War, so the war became really damn deadly. We know that if that war happened nowadays and the same percentage of the population were killed, it would have been 6.6 million of Americans, which is insane. So today we are going to watch the armchair historian what made the damn war so bloody. Because it was... whoa. Almost destroyed my set here. It was really damn bloody, unnecessarily bloody. So we need to dive into that, why that happened.
If someone were to ask you, what is the costliest war in American history, how would you answer? Many would impulsively respond with the Second World War, or even Vietnam. However, this is simply untrue. The American Civil War was, and still is, the costliest conflict in American history. In fact, up until about 50 years ago, the casualties of the Civil War were higher than any other American wars combined. But why was this the case? There were few automatic weapons, no tanks, or high explosives. I'm Griffin Johnson, the armchair historian, and today we're going to be examining what exactly made the American Civil War so lethal.
It's so true. You imagine you have people in lines firing at each other at point blank, no machine guns, and still it's the deadliest war, so there has to be some other reason also than just weaponry and manpower. There's something we are missing here.
First, it must be understood that far more men died of sickness than combat. Approximately 67% of all Civil War casualties were the result of infectious diseases, such as measles, dysentery, and smallpox. This was the natural result of assembling so many...
Yeah, we watched the video VR Civil War. If you haven't seen it, go back to my channel. It said that if your finger got amputated, meaning it got injured, you have to cut it off, you have 3% of dying chance. 3% chance of dying, which is, for a finger, it seems quite a lot actually. So if your leg goes off, you're dead, you're gone, boom. That's why. And they didn't have... yeah, the medicine wasn't that evolved back then, I guess. That's why they have so many infectious diseases. Talking about them diseases, right, we have one going around right now.
Men from different areas in one location, and was exacerbated by the lack of sanitation and fresh water. The loss of men to disease had significant implications on the battlefield. For example, at the Battle of Chancellorsville, 5,000 Confederate soldiers were rendered unfit for duty due to smallpox contamination. That said, disease will inevitably cause casualties in any war. However, combat in the American Civil War was still exceptionally deadly, and this was for a variety of reasons. The first reason why combat was so deadly was the extensive use of what is perhaps the most infamous munitions of the war, the Manet ball, which was named after its inventor.
Yeah, I've heard about you guys commented about it a lot. I saw this bullet and I was like, whoa, why are musket bullets looking like modern bullets? They should be looking like bowls. But you told me that they invented this new Min-eye ball that travels quite faster, it's more accurate, and it's more deadly apparently.
The French army officer Claude Etienne Manet. Before its invention, rifles, which were loaded with musket balls, were very slow to reload, as their ammunition had to fit tightly into the barrel to accommodate the rifling. Manet solved this problem by designing a hollow, conical bullet which fit loosely in the barrel. When the rifle was fired, the hollow cavity in the projectile expanded, allowing the round to fit firmly against the rifling, giving it a spin, which drastically increased accuracy and reload speed. However, the round itself was slow and heavy, and could cause immense damage to the body. Bones that were hit generally shattered, necessitating the amputation of limbs in many cases. But rifled muskets weren't...
Imagine if this thing goes through your bone, it leaves many shards in your body, and you have many tiny bone shards, and back then with that medicine, nothing to do than to cut the whole thing off, right?
Only thing that increased battlefield casualties. The most formidable weapon in the arsenals of both sides was of course field artillery, which was invaluable on the 19th century battlefield. Improvements in weapon technology resulted in artillery being both deadlier and more accurate than ever before. Explosive shells were able to destroy entire platoons if a direct hit occurred, and the introduction of rifled artillery, such as the Parrott gun, made such hits much more likely. According to eyewitness Sergeant Jonathan Stowe, 15th Massachusetts Infantry,
"What sights I've seen. that I now see around me. Shells fly past me every few seconds, carrying away branches from trees and scattering limbs around. I'm in severe pain. Furious how the shells fly. I do sincerely hope that I shall not be wounded again.
By far, the factor most...
Yeah, I remember playing a game way long ago, American Conquest it was called. I love that game. It's a strategy game. You can use these cannons as, cannons against buildings and armies, but you can also use them as... it's called carré, I think, with a C in the beginning, that you just load them with musket balls and they shoot out like a shotgun. And they can cut through, I think, 5 or 6 rows of men without even care. So that's really damn deadly. If you use that close up, it's like a huge damn shotgun and very effective. And truly, I don't want to see the outcome. It's like red mist that is left behind.
Responsible for producing casualties in combat, however, was the employment of linear tactics. As can be guessed, such accurate and deadly weapons were devastating to the static formations that were employed on the Civil War battlefield. Most of the commanders of the war had been trained at the United States Military Academy at West Point. In fact, at least one army at every major battle that was fought during the war was commanded by a West Point graduate, including such commanders as Ulysses S. Grant and Robert E. Lee. As the doctrine taught at West...
They're the graduate of the same school. That's so weird. You're fighting against each other with the same doctrine, basically. Because they teach in a certain way, right? And they both studied that way. And they both put it in use against each other. Which is a bit odd, actually, if you think about it.
West Point emphasized Napoleonic-era direct approach tactics. It's no surprise that both sides deployed their forces in lines, and it is equally unsurprising that both sides suffered heavy casualties as a result. It did not help that many of the generals appointed during the war had no prior military experience and were promoted due to their political positions. However, it must be understood that there was no better way to fight in open ground at the time. In battles where cover could be used, commanders usually deployed their men behind it. For example, at the Battle of Antietam, 500 Confederates hidden behind trees and walls were able to delay the advance of several Union brigades attempting to cross what would later be named Burnside's Bridge.
Oh yeah, I remember several Union brigades and only 500 men. They must have shot their barrels red. I mean, if brigades are a big number against 500, you are truly overwhelmed. You have to shoot really fast and load really fast.
The quintessential example of the lethality of Civil War combat is the infamous advance at the Battle of Gettysburg ordered by Robert E. Lee, known as Pickett's Charge. During the assault, 12,500 Confederate infantrymen advanced 1 mile across an open field under very heavy Union rifle and artillery fire. Although some Confederates reached Union lines, the assault was ultimately repulsed, with the Confederates taking over 6,000 casualties. The range and accuracy of rifled muskets ensured that Lee's men would begin suffering heavily well before they reached northern lines.
You might 12,000, and even before you reach the lines, half of you guys are dead. You can't do anything. You can't fight with that other half. I mean, I understand that's an old tactic. I've bitched about it so much, but still, you have 12,000 men. You can employ them whichever way you want, and still you just send them to die. I think even back then they had seen war and fighting already. They knew how bloody it was. I think this decision was stupid as hell. Yeah, I'm judging here.
And even before it began, the Confederates were being subjected to extensive Union bombardment. Artillery played such a considerable role in the Civil War that, according to Craig Simmons in his book The Battle of Gettysburg, the artillery barrages at Gettysburg may well have been the loudest man-made sound on the North American continent until the detonation of the first atomic bomb. And in the words of Colonel Joseph Mayo of the 3rd Virginia Infantry who fought at Gettysburg,
"The first shot or two flew harmlessly over our heads, but soon they began to get the range, and then came pandemonium. First there was an explosion on the top of a tree, and in a second there was another, followed by a piercing shriek. 2 men were killed outright and 3 frightfully wounded. Company F had suffered terribly, and a lieutenant had his leg shattered below the knee."
Oh.
Towards the end of the war, the deadliness of combat on open fields was finally recognized by commanders of both sides. Accordingly, both the North and South began to employ static defensive positions and breastworks, as can be seen at the Siege of Petersburg, which was also one of the first times that the Gatling gun was employed in battle, but in a very limited capacity. When the First World War arrived 50 years later, the American Civil War was finally seen.
A Gatling gun. Hey, that sounds interesting actually. I want to see the story of the first Gatling gun being used. Did it give some advantage to the side who used it? And also, even if you didn't physically didn't, then the sound of it, it's so fast and so, you know, future tech, it must have had some effect, right? Suddenly your enemy has a weapon that just suddenly shoots automatic fire out of nowhere. Many bullets come. What is going on, right? I think it has a very traumatizing effect on the battlefield. Demoralizing effect, none the least.
As both foreshadowing trench warfare and representing the transition from close order formations in open ground to open order formations in cover. This lesson, however, came at the cost of 620,000 American lives. 8% of American males lost their lives in the American Civil War, and 1 in 4 soldiers would never return home.
A truly bloody and horrible war, yes. But actually not only the America learned about that war or studied from its mistakes, the whole world did, because the whole world actually did not repeat these mistakes, at least. From after that war, Gatling guns were used, trench warfare were used, new weaponry was used, and new tactics were implied. So people didn't really fight Napoleon tactics anymore, they were outdated, obsolete. It changed the warfare for the whole world, and the next big one was the First World War, where again you can see that the tactics had been, you know, from the past. First World War also was trench warfare, super deadly, and no advances at all. Second World War brought some new techniques, you know, like the Nazis with their blitzkrieg, and new weaponry, new ways to deploy your men. And you could see that it was much faster. Everything happened so much faster in Second World War than the first one. I don't think we want to see another one. Let the tactics and the wars be in the past. We don't need any other ones. I know this is the end of the video. This time I'll do things a bit differently, but still we will jump into the Estonian Youtuber Cup competition. We have some 7 new names and some surprises coming up. Let me tell you, Texas is not backing down anywhere. He's going straight up for the win. Straight up for the kill, my friends. Howdy folks, welcome back to the Hall of Fame. We have some 7 new names to represent the states in the Hall of Fame, putting their hometowns in pride. I will read you the hometowns also, because I think it's a nice touch, really going specific of where the cups go to. I do see them, I don't want to waste them, you know. First name is Nakita Aze. Now I have no idea which kind of name is the family one, but the first one is, I think, some kind of an Asian one. Yeah, Mr. Nakita. Oh, that one goes to Kelso. There's a town called Kelso in Washington. We got Artur. No, not Artur, not me, Artur, no, Artur Noyes. Yeah. Same name, we share the name, Mr. Friend, but you have an H, I do not. You're from Bartley, Nebraska. Nebraska is a state I actually don't hear much about. I've heard it's like somewhere far away, nobody really knows much about it, so if Nebraska gets enough cups, we're gonna study a lot about it. Surprise, surprise, we don't have Nebraska even on the board. It's such a new state here. We still have new states coming in. Oh my god, I thought I have everything. I haven't counted them here, but it's nearing the whole number, the complete number of the US. Let's try to get every state here. Even Washington DC. Why don't we have DC? We should have one. I'll add Nebraska, and by the way, it's 2 cups. So yeah, Nebraska starts with 2. It's a good start. We have Mr. Jared Campbell. You know the guy Campbell's tomato soup, the famous painting, very expensive, but looks like a photo just of tomato soup. That's the guy, yeah, we have that guy getting the cup. I'm very glad, I like that art. Jared Campbell. He's from Hazelwood. Hazelwood is a city in Missouri. Hazelwood, sounds really nice. And Missouri is one of those native names that doesn't make any sense, but we're all glad it survives the native language some way. It's only the second one from Missouri. We got Mr. Jason Kadarian. Kadarian, that's a strange name. It sounds really cool, but it's from Chesterfield, Michigan. Yeah, Michigan's the state, but Chesterfield, that's the cigarette company, right? American, one of the biggest ones. Why does it have a name after a town, or does that town have a name after that cigarette company, or does everybody smoke in that town? That's quite bad. I don't know which one is it, but Michigan gets the point. The lone states here who don't really dominate the competition get points today. Michigan gets the second one. We have one Jonathan McGahan. You know, the Mac thing is a Scottish thing. You're a son of Gahan, McCahan. From Scotland, mister. Good lad, actually you're American. Your hometown's Livonia. What the hell, man? Livonia, that's like the old Estonia and Latvia. We have Livonia. The language has died out, the people have kind of died out, but it's an old Finno-Ugric tribe, Livonians, and I'm quite glad you have a town called Livonia in America. But you again, the town is again from Michigan, so Michigan gets 2 in this video. We got Mr. Thomas Wales. Wales is a country in the UK, not the what is it? UK is always difficult. It has like the England, Ireland, then it has Great Britain and its surrounding areas, then it has the UK part, and then it has the whole empire, which includes Canada and Australia and the whole connected lands. I don't know how to call it, but it's Wales around the island of England, you get me right. But it's from Phoenix, California. Okay, California gets 10 now. Yeah, you can switch to the other numbers. Finally, it looks prettier with those numbers. I like them more. Hold your horses, we got one more name. This just in, we have a new name and he's dominating the contest. Gabriel Ortiz. Oh, the Spanish blood is back. And that dude didn't get 1 cup, not 2 cups. He got 4 cups. And can you guess the state? Texas, my friends. Cowboys are back, striking it once again. The town's called Midland, but Texas gets 4. Good job, Gabriel. Nice to see that Texas is still kicking it. And yes, I found out in the comments, thank you for informing me in the comments, it helps me out a lot about this thing. I found out Texas is the 2nd most populous state in the US, California being the 1st one, but California has 10 and Texas has 27, because I think Texan pride is a bit over California. Now, I'm not judging or picking sides here, it just seems to me the Texans are a bit more, you know, crazy with it, which I love, because I'm crazy. Thank you, my friends. Let's get back to the video. Again, I urge you, if you are not from the US, because US is like, boom, kicking the doors open and saying, yeehaw, I am here, give me everything. Just, if you're from another country, you can also represent your country. Put it in the Hall of Fame, order a cup from France, Australia, I know, Mumbai, wherever you're from, doesn't really matter, get the cup. And as always, my friends, until my next video, stay cool and bye bye.